5, plus, of course, their coin-operated location is right by 7-Eleven, just off Highway 17 South. Lloydminster Bobcats season came to an end on Sunday night as they lost 5-0 in Canmore. That was in Game 6. The only consolation, I suppose, is that the Bonnyville Pontiacs were swept in their first round series as well. Just something about, like, just a weird AJHL season, Sitting for 2 weeks, I just don't think is good for any team. And you kind of just lose your focus, and the Cats are playing so good, and then, in my opinion, they lose to an inferior team. But next up for the Cats will be Flavor Fest, and that's in May. And tickets are already on sale for that, including VIP tickets. Wainwright can win the Northeast Alberta Junior B Hockey League title tonight. I know there's a lot of people driving from Lloyd to Vermilion to watch a lot of Lloydminster players and coaches for the Vermilion Tigers. But Wainwright's up 3-2, and Game 6 in Vermilion tonight at 8 o'clock. And Wainwright's almost doing that rope-a-dope thing that they did to Lloydminster when they beat the Bandits. Bandits think they're in control, and then all of a sudden, Vermilion wins on the road, and then they start hammering. They won big time the other night, like 7-1 or something like that. So. Lloydminster Museum and Archives hosting Pasanki and egg dip dyeing on Saturday from 10 to 4. They're also hosting crafts and a scavenger hunt. That's brought to you by the Lloydminster District Co-op. You can go book a time over at lloydminster.ca/Easter Pasanki. And the Co-op Marketplace will once again team up with the GOAT and the Lloydminster RCMP for Operation HOP. And that's coming up on Thursday. That's Operation Help Our People. They'll be collecting food for the Salvation Army at the Co-op Marketplace. This Wednesday night, Carolyn Park and Amanda Coop will be performing at the Vic Juba Theatre. It's the first in a series of 3 local shows, and if you purchase tickets for the first 2 shows, you get the third show free. And part of getting to perform at the theatre is promoting the show. And Carolyn Park told us that was one of the things that she really appreciated about getting involved with the Lloyd Local Series.
Actually, I was nervous to say, putting together my application, but then as you went through the questions and answered the questions, that was probably the part I liked the best, because it was like, you need to take ownership of your own career, and we're not going to just put everything on a silver platter for you. So what are you going to do to shoulder some of this burden? And it was 10 minutes. I was like, okay, I have 6 things I can utilize, and I'm going to do that. So no problem.
Go to vicjubatheater.com for tickets. Times are still available for the Clunker Dunker and Kid Scotty. Go to clunkerdunker.com to pick a time, and that's when that van will go through the ice by Kid Scotty. All proceeds support the new Kid Scotty Sports and Events Center. That's not only a fundraiser taking place for the new center in Kid Scotty, but there's another big fundraiser taking place as well. Elaine Columbine and Dustin Newman told us they are also going to be building and selling a house in Kid Scotty. Wellings of Lloydminster is now offering 1 or 2 bedroom villas for those that are 55 years of age and over, and they're gorgeous. They're 1-story, maintenance-free villas that are perfect for those that are looking for more freedom and don't want to be burdened with the time and money that it takes owning a large home. Now, there's certain things in your house you're never going to sell. Take those with you. Wellings is a community for those that still want their independence and still have room for visitors, still want pets. There's in-floor heating, there's air conditioning, there's appliances that are all there. And just gorgeous high ceilings and high windows, walk-in showers. You want to go take a look, you can call Darlene for yourself. Wellings is located right over by the new 7-Eleven in Petro, Canada, and Darlene will be happy to not only walk you through one of these gorgeous villas, but take you through one of their leases. And when you start to have health issues, when you get a little older, you're worried about signing those long-term leases, that's where you want to talk to Darlene. She'll clear that right up for you. 780-872-8537. Caleb Davidson is next here on Live with Kurt Price from the Lloydminster Exhibition.
I'm Brian Zinchuk of PipelineOnline.ca. I used to be a pipeliner, and I've spent the last 15 years reporting on energy in Saskatchewan. PipelineOnline.ca provides comprehensive coverage of light oil, heavy oil, lithium, helium, power production including coal, wind, solar, geothermal, natural gas, and nuclear. There's a lot happening in Saskatchewan's energy sector, and Pipeline Online is there for all of it. No one else comes even close.
It's more than just taxes at L&A CPA. Assurance, accounting, retirement planning, estate planning, business consulting, financial consulting, farm program support, and bookkeeping. But yes, there is always taxes. The team at L&A CPA is committed to helping you achieve your best results and will be there to assist you every step of the way. L&A CPA, with offices in Provost, Vermilion, and Lloydminster.
At Jason Arden Associates Cooperators, we're proud to be a top-rated local insurance company that offers flexible solutions and expert advice for all your insurance and investment needs. We'll work with you to tailor your insurance specific to your needs, and we offer investment advice that always puts you first. At Cooperators, one of our core values is to give back to the communities that we live in. Thanks to the support of our clients in Lloydminster and area, in 2023, Jason Arden Associates has donated $40,000 to local nonprofits, charities, students, athletes, and other special events. How does your insurance company support our community?
Welcome back. BioClean Disaster Services is a local company that's restoration and cleaning is second to none. Wind, fire, flood, that can be disastrous for your property, and it can be so hard on your belongings, but also really tough on your family. And that's why at BioClean Disaster Services, their commitment truly is to you and your family. It comes down to products being safe for your family, but it's more than that. It's about getting your family dynamic back to where you were before the disaster, keeping up to date on what is happening, just the little things that make BioClean Disaster Services so much better. And they're local, committed, certified, reliable, serving Lloydminster, Wainwright, St. Paul, Bonnyville, and Cold Lake. BioClean Disaster Services, 1-833-246-8326. Well, Caleb Davidson is the host of Just Relentless, and it is great to have him back with us. I think I met Caleb when he was playing football. Great to have you here.
You betcha. It's great to be here, Kurt. Thanks for having me.
That would have been a long, long time ago now.
Yes, that was quite a few moons ago, that's for sure.
So I don't think either one of us would ever have imagined that someday we would both be in broadcasting, but here we are. You are in. You're definitely a broadcaster now.
Yeah, it's turning that way, isn't it? Yeah. In the position that I am now, back from the football days to rodeo, oil field. Yeah, that was just kind of such a pipe dream, and to actually be living my dream now, it's pretty surreal.
There's been some changes with Just Relentless, no longer on television. Tell us where you can find it.
So you can find us on YouTube and all social media platforms. YouTube especially, we're making a big push for it there. One of the main reasons why I'm going to the YouTube route is I'm able to produce more of a quality style footage that I am proud to put my name behind. When you're doing TV, it's really tough to fit everything in that time slot. As you would know, like it's 22 minutes and 30 seconds is what you get, and with us we only had 6 episodes on the Sportsman channel, and so if you have a hunt that you want to show more of, it has to become a part 2. Well, sometimes you don't have enough footage for it to become a part 2, but it's still in between.
Right.
And so like there's multiple hunts where I felt I could have showcased a lot more of, and I really wish I could have produced a little bit better product. And that's what I've been doing with the YouTube route, creating films that are up to an hour long, 45 minutes and stuff like that. And I'm really enjoying doing that sort of filming.
So you're the editor too.
Yes.
And that's got to be tough because I imagine you're looking through hours and hours of video.
Oh yes.
And there's stuff that you don't want to take out still, I bet, that you
there's stuff that I still like when you still got to cut some stuff out, right? Because like you can't show everything, otherwise you're gonna have a 5-hour long film, right? So there's stuff that you're gonna have to cut out, and unfortunately there's gonna be some good footage that gets cut out, but you have to narrow it down. So I always say I don't even want to watch my episodes at the end of it because I've already watched it 2,000 times from editing. But that's one of the beauties of it as well, is being just fine-tuning your craft a little bit more each time.
Well, take us back to starting Just Relentless. How did it, was it started specifically for television?
It was, because back in the day, YouTube wasn't really a big popular thing. Right? And we actually started in probably the worst possible time for television, and that was during COVID. And I started with a good friend of mine, Kaylin Columbus, and we both had that drive to really go after TV and kind of go after that dream. and we were both working at the same time, and it was tough trying to find sponsors and everything to keep us going and everything. In our first year, it was extremely tough, and for a while there, it was like looking at each other like, what are we doing? Like, this is like really tough. And it was really, when you're getting denied by multiple
tough
people, tough financial, and like just the pressure of knowing that you've signed a contract with the network, and if you don't meet that airtime, well, then you get fined, as well as you're still having to pay that fee, right? So that whole time you got that stress of having to produce a product, but you still have to enjoy what you're doing, type of thing, right? And those hunts and everything that you're on, sometimes it gets a little bit overshadowed by the fact of the pressure. And so that first season was a real eye-opener to us, right? Just a couple boys that just went out hunting and had a camera along with us for the fun of it. All of a sudden, that camera has to be rolling all the time. And so it was a real eye-opener, but boy, did we sure enjoyed it.
Did you approach? So you approached the network?
No, actually, the network approached us.
Where'd they see your stuff?
So me and Kaylin, actually, we just started putting our stuff on social media, and so like we go out and film hunts. We actually did a teaser video up of the hunts that we had filmed together, and we put it on. I think we put it on YouTube and like Facebook, because at that point you could share a YouTube video on Facebook and it would play, instead of having to go to a different link.
Yeah.
And so that's what we did. And it blew up. It did quite well for us, and so that's what got us noticed by the networks. And they contacted us and, hey, you guys interested in doing a show? And we were like, yeah, absolutely.
That must have been a shocker.
Oh,
right?
It was. And so both of us were like sitting in the living room there, just chatting away and just trying to figure out how we were gonna do it and everything. And yeah, it was a really interesting first year, that's for sure.
I bet telling your family was just like, because you're really close with your family.
I'm very close with my family, and so
it must have been like, Dad, you're not gonna believe this.
Yeah, pretty much. Like I just remember saying to my dad, I'm gonna do a TV show, and so of course, like at that point, everybody's kind of wondering like, what's it all entail, that kind of stuff, I guess. And my families have always been supportive of it, and they've been a real blessing to have, for sure.
So what'd you do? You go out and like, do they tell you what you got to film with?
No, so we already had pretty good equipment, and actually
they weren't like, no, you don't have to upgrade anything.
No, it didn't need to upgrade everything. As long as you're being able to send it into the network, it's in 1080p is what it gets dumbed down to for TV, right? So you can film in 4K, but it's still going to show on TV at 1080. Because not a whole lot of stuff gets shown in 4K. So we already had a camera that shot in 4K, so we were good to go. I actually borrowed my brother's. My brother had actually invested in a Panasonic 1000 HC, I think it was called. It was one of those big camcorders, really expensive camera. And originally my brother wanted to start videoing his hunts and everything like that, like my brother Leaf. Mm-hmm. And he'd go down south with my brother Brett, and they'd film their mule deer hunts, and they were creating videos. And so he bought this camera in hopes of doing something like that, or maybe even doing a TV show. And that's where I don't know if you remember back when I was younger, we had a thing called Blood Brother Outdoors, and it was an Instagram page, and it was me and my brother, and then my brother-in-laws. And we did this thing. We just went out, took the camera out, and just had fun, and just videoed all of our adventures. And it didn't matter if we were sitting in a tree stand, hunting bears, shooting gophers, or going fishing and stuff like that. We were videoing it, and we never did anything with it. And I don't know if it was just because of the fact that we didn't really know what it all entailed. None of us edited it at the time, but so I ended up borrowing my brother's camera for that year. I still have it.
So technically, he owns part of your footage.
Technically, he owns a lot of my footage.
That's right. Yeah. So the first 3 seasons.
Yep.
You're 22 minutes.
22 minutes, 30 seconds. Yeah.
22 minutes, 30 seconds a show, but it's very popular.
It was very popular. We had really good success, and so like our first year, we had a couple episodes that were very popular on the network, and for them to see a show that was first year going, to get the ratings that we were doing was pretty great for them to see. So they were like, hey, these guys got something, let's keep them going. They put us into a little bit better time slot, because that was the thing. We were airing at like Our first episode aired Tuesday morning at 9 o'clock, I think it was. A whole lot of people are watching TV at 9 o'clock in the morning.
Especially your audience.
Especially
your
my
audience is out
We're,
doing chores,
you're
going
out,
to work.
You're working or out there. You're already 3 hours into your job at that point.
Yep.
And so for us to have ratings like that after our first season was a bit of an eye-opener, I think, to them. And so our time slot got turned into, I think we went to a Wednesday at, I think it was 7 o'clock at night. So it was like that perfect wind down moment. A lot of people are sitting down, maybe having a drink or two, watching the show, and our ratings went way up. And so we had an episode that aired, and we had an incredible amount of viewers on it. And so that really set us into that top tier, and I think we were in the top 5 shows on the network in our second season.
Which episode was that?
I think that one was my first, I think it was Bloodlines, and that was the one where I shot that big whitetail with my bow.
Okay.
Yeah.
Season 4. How come it's not? How come, did you decide or did they decide?
I decided.
You decided.
Yeah.
You know what? I want to make this the television show that I wanted
Yeah,
to do.
because at the end of everything,
Couldn't
so
talk them into doing an hour. If you could reach an hour, would you have done?
possibly could have done something like that, but it was just there was a lot of changes that happened with the show. A lot of the guys that were involved in the show left. They want to pursue different things, right? So like Kalen, he's got this road that he's on, and he's pretty bound and determined to conquer it. And I'm really supportive of him of chasing that dream. And so he's went in a different direction. But this is my passion. This is something that I wanted to stick with, and it gives me a little bit more lenience. That way, I don't have a schedule of stuff that I have to have done by a certain time, right? So like if I was going to be on TV this next quarter, I'd have to be already sending stuff in to air in quarter 3 and quarter 4. So it's a little bit more lenient for me, but I'm also able to put more time into the craft that I enjoy, and I feel like I'm coming out with a better product.
Right.
And so not only that, my sponsors get seen on more avenues, they're getting more viewers, and it's something I can recirculate a lot. And I'm really enjoying doing it this way.
Deadlines can be tough. Like, you're not a trained editor.
Nope.
I assume you're not a trained editor.
I'm not a trained editor. I learned literally just by putting out a TV show on season 1. I remember I fell asleep. So all I did, I still work on a laptop. I do all of my editing and stuff on a laptop. I don't have the big screens that all these other guys have. I like being able to take it anywhere I can go and just and edit. And season 1, I remember we had a deadline coming up. Our first episode had to be in at a certain time, and I was struggling because I was like trying to find transitions. I was trying to find the right music, right? Because your first episode, you want it to come out swinging, right? And Kalen was working away. I think he was doing heavy construction somewhere, and so I was like on the phone with him trying to figure out how we're doing this. And I think the deadline was I had 2 days to get this episode done and get it sent in. And I remember I was working on my island in my house, and I woke up and I'm asleep on my island. It was 5 o'clock in the morning, and I'm just editing away, and my finger's still on that thing, and it's just like, oh, I've just got this title, and it's just been going and going and going and going and going because my finger's been stuck on that thing, and I'm just passed out on the island. But I was trying to get it done. But yeah, I remember doing that multiple times, falling asleep on the island.
Well, you're right. Transitions.
Oh yeah,
Like-
'cause it has to flow.
Yeah.
Right. So
Yeah.
the wrong
You write music.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the one part that I actually like the most, I think, is trying to find that storyline behind every hunt and being able to kind of capture that moment and be able to share it, and people being able to feel that same emotion that I felt. And that all starts with music. Like you have to time everything properly. You have to find that one song that matches with the melody along with the birds and the animals and stuff like that that's going. You put the wrong song, you can't put Metallica to a whitetail hunt and expect it to flow. It doesn't work, right?
Maybe once the hunt's over.
Maybe once the hunt's over, yeah, it's party time. But
Yeah.
no, at that point there, it's really tough to keep that flow going. And that was on first season, that was our biggest challenge, was trying to find how to do that properly.
What about like actually filming? Like, how did you, because there's episodes where I'm pretty sure, and you guys will even say, probably caught our scent.
Yep.
And is gone, because it's not just you now, or it's not just a smaller group. It's a larger group because there's an extra guy there.
Yeah, when you have extra
I assume
people.
it's one extra guy.
Yep. A lot of the times I only like going with one extra cameraman type of thing. I prefer that over having a big production behind me type of thing. And there's that one TV show going right now, Meat Eater. I believe he has 8 cameramen going with him. I couldn't imagine hunting with 8 people at a time. I can hardly hunt with myself sometimes. I couldn't imagine having 8 people going. Like, that to me is just incredible. Hats off to him to be able to be successful doing that. But the challenge of having an extra person, that much extra sound. That much extra scent, like that's in itself is a challenge. Like, a lot of people have always said, like, I could never imagine going out there and filming my hunts and stuff like that and having extra noise. And I was like, it's tough. But I actually enjoy it because I feel it gives me more of a challenge. Like, a lot of people will go out there and they'll have the toughest hunt of their life. And I'm like, but it could be harder. So
add these factors.
Add these factors in. And I said, and that's a real challenge right there. And that's why I prefer hunting with a bow over rifle or anything like that, because I like that close connection. I like that raw emotion, that when you're able to, like, see their nostrils flare and you're able to see, like, the way that their mannerisms are, the amount of times that they blink and stuff like that. When you're that close, it's a completely different hunt. It's a completely different feeling. When you're going with a rifle and you only have to be in 200 yards or so, you don't get that same emotion. You don't get that same feel or the same footage. And, like, well, you know as well as I do, like, if I was to take a camera and take a shot from here on you, or I can go way over there, take the same shot, I'm not going to have that same clarity. You're not going to get that same feeling.
Yeah.
And that was the one thing when I went to Australia, they don't bow hunt. And so when I got there, for the first animal I got on, they got me to within, like, 200 yards. It was first day with the guide, and he was like, mate, he's like, I don't know what to do from here. And I was like, okay. I was like, well, you stay back here. I said, I'll go in from here. So, but it was kind of funny just to see how everything is a little bit different everywhere you go.
Well, and how does having a camera, it's mounted on your bow?
Nope.
Where is it located?
So when I'm filming, I have it on tripod.
Well, I should know that because but it looks like sometimes your shots.
There's sometimes,
you
yes.
see the bow, and it's almost like you're right on top. You're right in the bow.
So we do a lot of over the shoulder style, and so, like, we'll have the cameraman either right beside me or right behind me.
So you set up the tripod.
Yep.
Right behind you, and it's pointed.
Yeah,
at
it's
your prey.
at the animal that I'm going for. And I try to keep it in that window.
You can't zoom in.
No.
You can't zoom out or anything.
It's fixed.
He goes out of how do you know he goes out of the shot?
So when I'm self-filming, I have the camera in front of me. So there's a lot of times, like, if you'll see on the one Australia hunt where I'm going, the animal walked out of frame multiple times, and I could have got the shot off camera, but I went there to film a hunt.
Right.
And so I went there to make sure everything was done on camera. So I actually had to let down multiple times and not get the animal because I didn't have it on camera, and I had to just
so
walk
when you
away.
say it picked up our scent, or it's leaving.
Yep.
Sometimes it hasn't left that far.
Sometimes it hasn't left that far. It's just left out of that scenario where you're able to get a shot off type of thing, right? So
did the idea to go to Australia, did that come because, hey, you were looking for something? We've done this, we've done that, like, how are we going to make a bear hunt new?
Actually, it all came up with the fact that, like, I have a buddy that lives there, Vernon Cogswell, good friend of mine, and he actually came down, and he lives part-time here, and he does custom harvesting and stuff like that. He works for Webb's Machining and stuff. And so he part of the year he's here doing harvest work, but during that same time he'll come and do hunts here. And he's an Alberta resident, like he's got his residency and everything here, but he travels back and forth. And he's like, you know what, mate? He's like, you should come and do a hunt here. He said, I'd love to have you. And he's like, let me see if I can work something out here. And he's like, and see if we can get hooked up with a crew here to take us into a real good spot. And he did.
Like crew, he means guides?
Yeah. And so there is a group of guys, Wild Safaris, owned by Dwayne Taylor. And they had just really started going on it. They're all ex-military gentlemen. Unbelievable dudes. Just great dudes. And they offered me to come there and hunt, and I had just to produce a video for them so that they could show their clients and stuff like that what they have to offer.
So that's the agreement. We'll take
that
you
was
out
the
there.
agreement.
Doesn't cost you anything.
It didn't cost me. It cost me a plane ticket.
Cost you a plane.
Cost me a plane ticket. Yep.
And then, how much is a plane ticket to Australia?
Well, we waited a little bit too late. We could have got it a lot cheaper if we would have booked a little sooner, but we late.
Isn't that the story of everyone's life?
Yeah, and it cost us a little bit more than what I wanted to pay. But in all honesty, it's not terrible.
It's not as much.
It's not as much as you would think it is.
Okay, so the agreement is we'll do this.
Yep.
And then you film this. You basically give us an episode?
Yep, basically. So that's one of the reasons why I wanted to produce something a little bit longer for them, was to showcase and give them a little bit more time. And so I was only required to do one video for them. I did 3, and I'm still also working. I'm going to do a full-on promotional video for them. I don't have to, but I'm gonna. And so I'm going to produce a bunch of my top footage and stuff, maybe compress it down to like a 1 minute or 1.5 minute thing, just so they can start using it for their social medias and stuff like that, just a little bit quicker, because some people don't have the retention span anymore.
I completely understand that.
Yeah.
We're going to take a break, and when we come back, we'll get into that, more into the Australian hunt and the 3 episodes you can watch right now on YouTube.
Save some green this March by visiting the new Lloydminster Nissan in the Big Blue building on Highway 16 West. Purchase a new car, truck, or SUV from the new Lloydminster Nissan this March and get lucky. Right now at the new Lloydminster Nissan, your first payment is on us, and you can win free payments for a year with your new or pre-owned purchase. May the luck of the Irish be with you all March and all year. The new Lloydminster Nissan. We won't sell you a car, we'll help you buy one.
How can you help support the oil and gas industry and jobs in Western Canada? The answer is closer than you think. Sell your scrap metals to PWM Steel. PWM sells scrap iron to Evraz, located in Regina. Evraz's #1 customer is the energy sector, building pipes and plates for the oil and gas industry. PWM Steel is your locally owned metal recycler and steel service center in the area. Plus, they're a strong supporter of the community. PWM Steel, your top steel supplier for Alberta and Saskatchewan for 40 years.
At Diamond 7 Meats, we work with local farm families to provide a high-quality product and a great selection for you. Try our mouth-watering smokies, pulled pork, roast beef, and more, made pure and natural with no additives or fillers. We offer custom processing, and our experienced team works for you to provide a selection of sausage, burgers, and jerkies made to your specifications. Take your grilling to the next level with a Yoder smoker. Complete the grilling experience with Canadian-made, award-winning line of House of Q barbecue sauces. We're locally owned and operated, and we look forward to seeing you today.
Welcome back. Caleb Davidson is with us. He is the host, the editor, the producer, director of Just Relentless on YouTube, and it is a hunting show which has 3 seasons that are based here in Canada.
Yep.
Not only in Canada, you went to the States too, didn't you?
A little bit in the States,
Yeah.
but I'll be branching out a lot more into the States this coming year and everything as well.
And he recently went to Australia, and that's where we're at right now, is that trip to Australia. And Caleb, when I hear somebody say, come to Australia and hunt, the first thing I think of is, not on your life. There's anything that can kill you lives in Australia.
Everything
There's,
wants to
literally
kill you there.
everything.
Even the plants want to kill you there.
Even the plants.
Oh, yeah. So, little story for you. So, I'm terrified of snakes.
Who isn't?
No, I'm terrified of snakes.
Yeah.
If I punted my nephew into the river, my nephew was about that tall, and he caught a garter snake, and he came running up to me, and he knows I'm terrified of him. it was just my first reaction. I Sparta kicked him right into the river, and it was he should have known better. But yeah, I am terrified of snakes.
Okay,
it's
I'm not that scared of garter
I
snakes.
don't do snakes. And so that was one of
You're
my
Indiana
biggest.
Jones.
Yeah. Oh, can't handle them. Yeah, they're not good. But when I was flying over there, that was one of my biggest things. It's like snakes, like everything. I was like, it's gonna be like just worried about it. Like, into this point that I was like giving myself migraines, worried about like going over there.
Well, I can understand why.
Yeah, and so luckily, the time that I went there, which was April, and we came back. I started May, I guess, is when we came back. So I was there for a full month. During that time, that is what they considered like that would be their fall time. And so during that time, everything's in dormant mode. And so the mornings and everything there would be like 1 to 2 degrees Celsius. By the time mid-morning hits, you're probably around like that 25 to 30. But the mornings are cold. And so all the snakes and everything are dormant. And
They're hibernating?
They're hibernating. I only saw one snake the entire time I was there. But I saw one ridiculously big spider, and it happened to be on my bino harness on my way walking back in the pitch black. I was stripped down to nothing in a matter of seconds when that happened.
How did you see it?
So this is where it gets real good. So this is something that happened that I wasn't able to really capture on video, but during the one hunt, I got on this fallow deer, and it was a very large fallow deer. They call it like they call him the ghost of Greenhide Mountain, and there was a fallow deer that was known in the area by the guides, and they said like he's one of the biggest ones out there, and if you can get him, like they say, it's going to be something. Well, I ended up finding this fallow deer, and he was on the back side of this Greenhide Mountain, which was it's a tall summit. And I went there in the evening, and by the time I got down into shooting range of this fallow deer, I was starting to lose camera light, and it wasn't going to be really good footage, and I kind of hemmed and hawed about whether or not I should do it or not. I was like, you know what, I'm going to come back in the morning. I was a little bit too far away from camp, and on the back side of Greenhide, like you're down in the dip. It's like, so I was down in the bottom valley, and in Australia, when it gets dark, like it's dark, and I went to grab out of my pack, and they call them torches there. It's your light. And I went to look for my headlamp, and it wasn't in my bag. I'm like, what the heck? I can't find this thing. So I was like, okay, well, I grabbed my phone out, and I pick up my phone, and I don't know what I did with my phone, but when I touched my phone, it was roaming the entire time. And so it killed my battery. And I was down to like, I think it was 20% battery life, and I'm miles from camp. And I'm on this other side of this valley and everything, and on the other side of the valley, the radios don't work either because there's no service where I was at. So I was like, you know, I gotta get back. So I was like, I know if I can get to this one trail system, I'll be able to follow that trail system back. But in that time, you're hearing all these noises. You're hearing birds. You're hearing, like, everything sounds scary in Australia, but in the dark, it sounds extra scary. And so the whole time I'm going back and I'm turning on my flashlight for a couple seconds, make sure I'm still on the trail, turning it off. And the whole time you're walking through cobwebs and stuff like that, you know, you're going through and turn the light on, turn it off. Turn the light on, turn it off.
But it's an actual trail.
So no, I wasn't on the trail yet. So I was still walking. I'm just trying to get up the mountain to find this one trail system.
And you're doing this in the dark.
It was pitch black. So I purposely would go like this with my hand, and I couldn't see my hand. It was that dark. And so I'm walking back, and I walked through this one cobweb, and it was a thick one. And I'm walking away, and I turned the light on to look at the trail, and I caught movement on my bino harness. And I will look down like this, and there was this sucker that was that big on me, the biggest legs. He had orange. So as soon as I saw orange there, it was just everything came off, and it was just a yard sale. There was equipment going everywhere. I was freaking out. I'm trying to get stuff off there. I'm shaking everything off, and the whole time I blew that area out. Like, there was no way nothing on that mountain didn't hear me. Like, it freaked me out pretty good.
Well, do you know what it was?
Not a clue.
You didn't ask them when you got back?
I just said something this big. I said it had orange and black legs, and they're like, oh yeah, that was probably a poisonous one. And I was just like, good
like
to know.
tarantula, spider?
I don't even know what they were called. I wasn't all that interested in finding out, in all honesty. I just knew that didn't want to have that happen again.
Okay, what do you do after you shake everything out? You have you have minimum light.
So at that point there, I had just, like, when everything happened, I had about another 5-minute walk, and then I was back to the trail system. I didn't know that, but that whole time I'm still like, by that point I picked up a couple of sticks, and I was walking ahead of me like this, so every time I go through a cobweb, like at least it was catching on the stick ahead of time, and so that's how I walked all the way back. But
Did you have to go back the next morning, pick anything up? Or
no,
did you get it all?
I was able to pick everything up because I didn't know if I was going to come back to that area the next morning. So.
I don't know if I want to be back here ever.
Yeah, but no, it was that spot was a honey hole, and so I had to go back.
How's that sleep that night?
Not good. Like, yeah, it was a little bit stressful because as soon as I got to the top of Greenhide Mountain, I had 5% battery life left on my phone. And Dana and Darcy, they were coming to pick me up at the bottom of the trail system on the other side of Greenhide. And as soon as I got to this top of the summit, I don't know if I just followed the trail system. Like, I had the maps and stuff like that on my phone, but only have 5% battery life. I didn't want to kill it. I wanted to make sure I still had that light. And they pulled out with, they call them utes there, the vehicles. And they had pulled up to this one trail system, and I actually just saw the glimmers of the headlight at one point, and I was like, okay, so I had a reference point, and I just kind of just started going straight, and then I was able to get on the trail system going down.
And a big sigh of relief.
But yeah, the accommodations and everything, like, we were in like an old ranch house, so we were on a big ranch. The guy had just an incredible amount of land, and so we stayed in there, had a good belly full of food, and then hit the hay, and then it was right back at her the next morning.
Speaking of food, there's one episode where you try some crawfish. I think it's called crawfish.
Yep, so they're called, they'd be freshwater crawfish for what they would be here.
And the fishing is really interesting.
It is
I guess
really
you call
interesting.
it fishing.
Yeah,
trapping.
Yeah,
maybe it's more trapping.
You're throughout these they're called yabbies there.
Right,
So that was the word I was
right.
trying to think of. The yabbies. And you throw these trap systems out there, and you take little chunks of meat and you put them out there. And literally they just go in there, and there's thousands of them. And they can range anywhere from like size of small lobsters to like little tiny suckers. But they taste like, the best way I could describe would be a lot like a shrimp. Maybe a little grittier meat texture, but you put them in with butter or Cajun seasoning and stuff like that. Oh.
Like boil them?
Yeah, you boil them. You treat them just like you would like a crawfish boil.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and they're quite something. I wasn't able to show that on the episode just due to the fact, like, you can't show everything, right? But I think when I go back next year, I'm going to try to show a lot more of the small stuff instead of just the big stuff.
When you were going over, did you know what you were looking for? Like, did you have an idea of what kind of animals you're chasing?
Not a clue. I knew where we were heading. We were going to have fallow deer there, and there was possible going after a red stag, and I guess chittle as well. And they had wild hogs that we knew of, but
just like here. Is it just like here where they're invasive?
Yeah, they're invasive. So like even the deer and stuff, they're invasive. So they consider fallow deer an invasive animal. And actually, so the first product we were in, the farmer would call every morning. So he allows the guides and the outfitters to go onto his property and stuff like that. But if they're not taking enough animals out of that area, he just calls in the helicopters to come in, and they'll take care of the deer because there's so many. And to me, that is something that I had to pretty much learn and understand, because for me with my whitetail, I am all about like the genetics, let them go, let them grow type of thing like that, but they can't do that there. If they did that, they'd be overrun. And so there's a lot of times like we'd be going out and the guide would be like, he'd have to take some as well type of thing, right? Just so that their numbers were being shown that they were cutting down. Otherwise the farmer just brings in helicopters and stuff and they just wipe them out, just like Trudeau did in Jasper there.
Yeah.
So
did you know about the ghost of Greenhorn?
Pardon me?
Is it the
Greenhide.
Greenhide. Did you know
We found out once we got to that new territory. So we ended up going to this new spot, and the guides and everything, he was a well-known deer in that area, and pretty hard to miss him. He's straight albino, like just white as could be, and his antlers were like that reddish look, like, oh, he was gorgeous.
So we won't give it away whether you get him or not.
I don't.
But you do get a white.
I get a white one.
Yeah.
I shot a white one later on in I think it was episode 3, and that was it was a big one. Like, it was a really, really nice fallow deer. But the one on Greenhide, yeah, you're gonna have to watch it. But it was an adventure and a half, and I made a lot of mistakes, and I was self-filming that hunt. So there's a lot of things I could have done better. And after learning how to hunt these animals better, I know the next time I'm going, I'll be a lot more successful on going after the big ones and focusing on different ways to get it done.
So the territory there kind of reminded me of, it's like brush. It's like a little bit of like around by Medicine Hat.
Yeah.
You know, that area there in the foothills kind of.
Yep. Yeah, that's kind of the way that I try to describe it to people as well. It was like a mixture of like the foothills area and the Black Hills of South Dakota.
Okay.
So I call it mountains that are useful. I'm the type of guy, like, if I want to go to the mountain range and stuff, I want to be able to do something on it. Canmore doesn't do a whole lot for me. You just see those big rocks and stuff like that, it's just a rock to me. But if I see goats, or if I see elk or something on the mountain all the way up top, that's a useful mountain. So I call them useful mountains. But there, it's a completely different style of range. Like, for me, like, when I first imagined Australia, you think of Crocodile Dundee, you think about desert, you think about like tannish looking stuff everywhere. Red dirt. They got red dirt, but their grass and everything, like, it was just pristine, gorgeous country. It was more green than I could have ever imagined. And like, there was one point I'm sitting on top of this one mountain, and it was surreal to sit there and look over everything. And it was just completely different from anything I've ever seen. Hearing all of these different animals that I've never even heard a chirp from before. And it was almost an emotional moment. But I'm sitting there, and I just look back at Vernon like, this is beautiful. And it was just something like that I never would have imagined that I was going to do in my lifetime, especially after filming season 1. It was just, I never imagined I was going to leave Canada to begin with, and then all of a sudden I'm hunting in Australia.
Yeah.
And, it's just...
What are some of those animals that you're hearing? Like,
so there's this one, like, you're hearing things that sound like a monkey. Like, you hear like a sound, and you're like, is that a monkey?
like
and it's a bird. And there's these other birds that mimic other birds, right? And so they'll make a sound but doesn't sound exactly like it, but they're a mimic. And so, like, but then they have their own sound. And so I don't know all the names for the birds. I wasn't able to quite figure them all out. But the first night that I got to Australia, I know you're jet lagged and everything, and you wake up that next morning. I think I woke up at like 4 a.m. their time. And I just hear these birds, these obnoxious birds outside my window.
Worse than magpies?
Oh, they were horrible. Like, we're talking like magpie times 10, right?
Really?
And like, I'm sitting there and I'm just like, golly, like, I know in Australia they have no tag systems or anything like that, so like, you can shoot a lot of things. And I'm just like, I wonder if we can shoot one of them birds. And so Vernon, he gets up there because he hears me stirring around, and he comes in there, and I'm like, dude, I was like, these birds out here, I said, he says, oh, they're obnoxious. And he was like, yeah, and he's like, they're bad, aren't they? And I was like, yeah. I was like, can we shoot one? And he's like, well, let me look. And he looks out there, and he goes, mate, he's like, you got to grab your camera. He says, that's a rare cockatoo. And I was like, how rare? And he was like, oh, you'd be in big trouble. And I was like, okay, yeah, we're not going to shoot those ones then. They became a lot more beautiful once I found out how rare they were.
Yeah, I've never seen them, yeah.
Yeah, they actually were a beautiful bird too once I saw them.
You mentioned something there, you said no tag system.
No tag system.
So you could shoot whatever you like.
Mm-hmm. You could go there.
Even as an outsider, as a
Yep, and
foreigner.
an outsider, you step off that plane and you go onto like public land or private land that you have permission on. You can pretty much just go, and of course you're probably going to want to go with a guide system, so you know you're doing things proper. But yeah, there's no tag system, and that's one thing that was really crazy to me, right? Because in Saskatchewan, you have your draws, you have your tags that you have to go through, but all their animals that they have there are an invasive animal. So like even their feral goats and their stuff, like there's hundreds of goats. So you'll be driving down the road and you'll see them on like the hillsides and everything, or the goats and the pigs and the wild pigs there, like they were everywhere. And that to me, like that took a bit for me to get used to, was the fact like you can hunt them all year long too. Like there's no season. So like you go there, you could have gone there during our summer and shot one type of thing, right? But they're starting to find like the fact like these animals, they can help their habitat and stuff like that as well if they're managed properly, right? So the Australian government are starting to take the proper steps in conservation and management of these animals rather than just all-out war on these animals, which I am quite a big fan of, just making sure it's done properly.
Right. Here, is there a wild pig season here?
There is. It's open season on wild pigs because they're invasive.
That's what I thought. Yeah.
So you can go whenever after wild pigs here.
Do you do that here?
I've never found one here. There's my brother-in-law. He shot one. I think he was northwest of Maidstone area is when he found his, and like apparently there's a lot of pigs and they need to be eradicated because they are horrible creatures, and they will take over an area and they will demolish crops. Just strip it. They are a horrible invasive animal.
I'm seeing more and more advertisements for the same pig in Australia. Is it the
pretty much the same style. Ours are the Russian boars that we have here, though.
Okay.
I could be wrong, but I believe that's what ours are. So they're a different breed there.
So when you get there, how do you decide this is what we're gonna like? I know you went after a goat.
Yeah. So the property that we're on, it's basically the property that you're on, and what
kind of dictates.
Yeah, it kind of dictates, and also like the outfit that I was with. I asked what they wanted to kind of showcase what they had, and because that's what I needed to film for them. And so like when the goat hunt, they said if you like are able to find like a good billy, go after that. And like for me, that was a bow hunting dream, go after that. So I went up there on that mountain, and those animals, they're insane in themselves, in all honesty. Because,
What do you mean?
So like you go in there and you smell them before you see them. Like they're stinky. They're stinky. And but the way that they are is they'll sunbathe in the morning during the cold, and then as soon as it starts getting hot, they start going into the shade and they start working their way down the rocks and stuff, getting to a little cooler spot. But those suckers, they can walk on anything, like literally rock faces that are straight down. And so when I shot my one with the bow, he went and stood on this cliff face, and it was a straight drop. And he stood there, and I was like, "Oh, I'm gonna have to put another arrow in this guy just so he doesn't do anything stupid." I pulled back, and I was just about to let it off, and he just yard sailed off the cliff, just jumped. And I'm just like, "Oh, like no!" Not only did he make my job a lot more difficult getting him out, but he jumped off, and it was like I don't know how many hundreds of feet, and there was a trail system right down below where he jumped. He didn't miss a beat. He went right on a straight run. Just whoo.
Really?
It was like he just bent like this and just went right off. I wish we would have captured it on video because it was phenomenal. But then he ran like 10 feet, tipped over.
Oh, okay. That's after the second arrow?
No, I never got a second arrow on that one. Oh, not at that point. I did have to get a follow-up shot, but he had tipped over there and he laid down.
Right.
So then from there I was able to get down, and then I got him again just to make it a little bit quicker.
So there's one part of that episode where you're like, should I just take this?
Yeah.
Like, should I take the one that's kind of available?
Yeah.
Sort of thing?
So for there, like we knew there were so many eyes, right? There was multiple goats staring at us at a time, right? And we were able to get in. I think we were at
Like they were looking right at
They
you.
were looking right at me, except for
They
the
don't
one.
care, or?
Well, they were waiting for the big Billy to move, and so they're waiting. As soon as he moves, they all move. And so, or like the big nanny. If the big nanny had saw us and she would blow, then the whole thing just goes boom. And so, you'll actually hear them. They do like kind of like a spitting sound. And there was one of the Billies was making a fuss, but the big one actually hadn't seen me yet. So he was the one that I was after, and he was kind of angled away. And so he didn't give me a presentable shot, like, a good broadside or enough angle where I was able to hit him in the vitals. And but there was one that was just a touch smaller than him, and he was broadside. And I was like, well, should I shoot that one instead, and just because he's giving me a shot, and I know these ones are about to go, like, blow out right away. You only have a certain amount of time before they're going to happen. And so as soon as I was like, the other one took a step, and I was like, no, this one's going to give me a shot. And so I waited on the big one to turn a little bit more broadside, and that's when I let an arrow fly and went right into the boiler room. So,
Right. Yeah. Are they invasive?
Yes.
They're
an invasive. They're an invasive animal also. So like they run wild everywhere, and there's some out there that, like, there's hundreds all over the place. On like one mountain will have hundreds of goats on them. But kangaroos, they're all over the place. Like they're
like our gophers sort of.
Oh,
thing, right?
yeah, and they are an annoying creature.
What do you mean? Expand on that.
So they will ruin a hunt. The way that I always just explained it is, so like, like if you're trying to like herd cattle or something like that, if you get on, like, you come around the side of them here, you're going to push them that way or something like that. If a kangaroo makes up its mind that it's going to run past you or run a certain direction, there's no reasoning with them. They're just going. And so like you'll be making a stalk in on them, and the kangaroo will be over here, and you're minding your own business, you're leaving them alone, but they want to run past your animal, they'll run right past them just to go to that direction they're going. I had numerous accounts where the kangaroos messed up my hunt.
You didn't put that on there.
No, I was a little frustrated.
There was too many swear words, or what?
Well, sorry, Mom. Yeah, probably.
Was it?
Yeah, there was a few. There's times where, like, but I almost got run over. I thought I was gonna have to fight one that night where I was actually filming that big one down in that bottom valley system. I was just made up my mind that I was like, okay, you know what? I'm gonna come back in the morning. And I was like, I'm gonna try to crawl out of here, stay in stealth mode. And all of a sudden, I see this kangaroo bouncing towards me, and he was a good sized one too. And I'm like, try not to make any noise, and so I'm like looking at the fallow deer, and I'm crawling back, and he's still coming. I'm like, okay, kick him on a thing, kind of thing. So I had to stand up, and luckily the fallow deer just gone down, and this kangaroo's running at me, and I'm like, hey, like going like this, hey bud, come on, like type of thing. And so I'm like, I'm gonna have to fight this sucker. So like I'm literally standing there, I'm like, hey, and he got to, like, from me to you, bouncing, and then he just went like this and just jumped to the side and just ran past me. But I had zero camera light, and so all you would have heard was just me yelling at this thing. So yeah, that part there, I was trying to get out as stealthy as possible, but it turned out I wasn't stealthy at all.
Well, there's a viral video of a guy whose dog
when he punched that kangaroo. That's what I thought I was going to have to do.
Yeah, do they do that? Like, is that quite common there to have an encounter with a kangaroo?
Yeah, like they're mean. Every once in a while, you'll come across one that are, if they want to go at you, they'll go at you. It's usually, like, I think he said the wallaroos are usually the ones that are the most aggressive. And the one thing that I didn't understand is they're almost like a raptor. Looking like they have claws on their front. And so if you ever watch kangaroos fight each other, they stick their heads back like this, and they're going like this, and they'll kick at each other. But you'll see scars on kangaroos' chests and stuff. And what they do is they'll jab into you here, and they rip. And so, like they said, if a kangaroo gets a hold of you, like they're gonna rip you apart. They'll gut you. Yeah.
When you were going over, did you think about kangaroo? Like, you're like, well, you're hunting kangaroos. Like, it's first animal you think of.
You think about it, and like, like there's a lot of people asking me, are you going to shoot a kangaroo while you're over there? And once you get there, you don't really have a desire to. I don't know what it is, but when I got there, I was just like, I've had kangaroo meat. I don't really. It's not something that I would choose to do.
They're just too cute, Caleb?
No, they're not. They're not too cute. I wouldn't put them that way. when you see the little ones, yes, they are incredibly cute. Like, they are ridiculously, they're cuter than any little kitten or any little puppy you'll ever see. That thing is cute. But no, when you get there, I don't know what it is. It's a different feeling. I can't really explain it. You don't have a desire to shoot one when you get there.
They're like black bears. They're cute when they're little.
Yeah. Yeah. When they get bigger, they're not so cute.
They're not so cute.
Not so cute. Yeah. But no, I had no desire to shoot a kangaroo when I was over there, and that decision was made pretty quickly for me after spending a lot of time out there.
But you had the option?
I had the option. I could have shot one if I wanted to, but it was just, if I'm not going to eat it and I'm not going to really appreciate or do anything with it, I wasn't going to do that. I don't like taking a life for no reason.
That's not what Just Relentless is about.
No, the whole part about Just Relentless is, showing the proper ethics of hunting, the adventure, the drive, and everything it takes to be successful out there. All of the great moments, all of the bad moments. Some I can't show. Sorry, Mom, but there's a lot of times, like, where it's. I try to be as genuine as possible with everything, and even with black bear, like if I'm shooting a black bear, I'm taking the back straps off it. Like, it's something about it. I don't like taking something that I'm not going to appreciate, and so like there's a lot of things out there that I just refuse to hunt because like it's not going to be something that I'm going to do anything with. So if I'm going to feed my family or feed myself, and like that, when I shot that fallow deer, that's what we ate at camp for the entire time that we were there. So. And it didn't last long. Like, you go through. What did it taste like? It was the best meat I've ever had.
Really?
100%.
Not better than cow.
I'd put it right up there. Like,
really? Put it up there with beef.
I'd put it up there with beef. Like, even coming from like a beef family, I was blown away. It is a tender. It's like all of the cuts on that fallow deer were like a tenderloin. Like, even like the toughest cut you could get on a beef, like it was. The entire thing was tender, and so it was like you'd make it and it would just fall apart. It was phenomenal.
Fatty?
Yeah, it had a little bit of fat. A little bit of fat coverage.
Deer fat here is it's completely different.
Completely different, very lean, right?
But what was that like? Because I like a little marble.
Yeah, so I kind of explained it as a cross between an elk, beef, and deer. So you kind of get like that marbling from like the beef, but you're getting that lean texture from like a deer tenderloin, but kind of more of like an elk flavor. Unbelievable. Like, it was, all you did was put a little bit of butter in that pan. Oh, it was so good. It was phenomenal.
Really?
Yeah.
How much did you bring back?
I wasn't able to bring any of the meat back.
Oh, because I saw you put it in coolers.
So no, that all went to feed Vernon.
Oh, okay.
Vernon and his family and all of their family members that they have in Australia. So that filled all of their freezers. But being there for a full month, we went through a ton of meat. So they had a meat locker and everything. So every night we would go and cut a few slabs off, and that's what we ate.
Pig? Did you try the...
So we actually didn't take a pig while we were there.
I know you were looking at them.
We were looking, but we weren't successful in taking one. It was
going through my mind. I don't remember him.
Yeah, we never got a pig while we were there. I didn't try very hard for them, though. We only really went that one day for them out of the whole month that we were there.
Were they loud?
Oh, yeah. They're loud.
They're loud.
Yeah, they're super loud. And when you walk in on, like, the pigs and they're milling around, you can literally track them everywhere. Like, their burrows that they make and stuff, like, they destroy the territory. That's not true. Vernon did kill a pig, but it was on one of the last days that we were there, and so the guides and everything, they would have taken that meat for there, and so we weren't able to have any of it there. But
have you? I've heard it's really good.
It's really good. So Raymond Faltmeyer.
Yep.
So it's in my opinion, it would be a lot like that type of meat. Like, I saw what the meat looked like, and I'm guessing it would be fairly close to what Ray.
There's something else on that farm that tastes really good too. We won't get into that. But so did you? What hoops did you have to jump through to go able to hunt in Australia?
Not a whole lot.
No.
Not a whole lot at all. Like, majority of the stuff that you're doing there, like, especially like when you're going through, they're called like a safari. You have to get like your safari permit. You have to get, so if you're going to be hunting with a firearm, you have to show that you are what we call a PAL here. You had this show record that you had that, and that got sent in ahead of time. It was all sent in. You send all that stuff into the outfitting service beforehand, and they take care of all that stuff for you, though.
Okay. What's next for Just Relentless?
Well, actually, I guess I can announce this now. I just found out I'm heading to Africa, and I'm going to be leaving early May. And so Just Relentless is now heading to Africa.
How many people are you taking with you?
So I'm going with the crew from Scree. So the camel company that's sponsoring the show and the one that I've been working with for a bit, they're sending me. So there's quite a few of us going. I guess there's actually a few gentlemen from Lloyd that are going to be joining us as well. Going to be going with Rob Dunham, and going to spend a fair bit of time there. I think it's anywhere from 2 to 3 weeks that I'll be gone, and I'm super excited for that.
Do you know what you're looking for?
I don't yet. I don't know what I'm going to be really targeting. I think that's mostly going to be a decision once I get there. I'm going there with an open mind and a bow in my hands. That's my plan. So,
if there's a secondary place to Australia that would scare the life out of somebody to go hunt, it would be
Africa. Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. Africa has never really been like a top area for me to go. Even as a kid, I was never really that interested in Africa. But after I went to Australia and just exploring and kind of broadening my horizons, and I'm really wanting to capture, and I think Jim Shockey did a really good job of that when he'd go and film in other countries, was showing that culture and showing everything about how they may hunt a different style, they may act different, they may do that, but we're all the same. We're all in it for the exact same reasons, and I really want to capture that. And so when I was in Australia, I really wanted to show their culture, the way that they do things there. And that's the way that I'm going to do it in Africa. I really want to show the different ways of hunting, the different ways that they handle the game and all that. And I really want to just capture that same emotion and bring it home to show everybody. And that changed when I was in Australia. Just that adventure mode just kind of kicked in for me, and to be able to see the world and be able to do what I love at the same time, yeah, I'm all about that now.
So you don't really know what you're after?
I don't know what I'm after. I kind of have an idea, and if I can get an impala or a kudu or something like a deer species, that's going to be my main target. If something very unique comes up, I'll jump on it.
Like a lion? Would a lion?
Possibly. I have to be careful with the lion, because this day and age you can get, canceled and stuff like that for certain things, and so it would have to be the proper style hunt for me to go on for a lion hunt. I think it would have to be like, what's that one movie, Ghost of the Darkness, with Val Kilmer, where they were going after those killer lions where they were causing havoc and stuff like that. That would be the really only reason that I'd be interested in going after a lion, is if it was a problem, and I'm helping a village out or something like that. That would be a reason. If I'm going there just to shoot a lion.
And that ties into Just Relentless and what you're all about.
That's what I'm all about. I'm not going to go there and just shoot a lion and stand behind it. I'm not going to do that.
Just to get a picture.
Yeah, that does nothing for me.
That's not you.
No, not at all. If I'm shooting an animal and I'm standing behind it to take a grin picture, to me, you're doing it for the wrong reason. And so for me, I'm going to go there just and enjoy the company. I'm going to enjoy the terrain, the area, learn, and if I'm able to take a couple animals and feed some villagers and feed myself and try out some new game, that's what I'm all about.
When you say that you're going to be filming in early May, so you'll be over there filming in early May, do you do anything to keep people up to date, or do you have to kind of bring it back and edit it first before you start releasing any of that material?
I'll do teasers. I'll do like behind the scenes stuff, like with the phone, you'll do some stuff, some updates and stuff like that, so people know that I'm still alive and stuff like that. Maybe hey, the spider in the blind or something like that type of thing. But just little stuff like that, just to keep people interested and updated and stuff on it. And that kind of stuff I'll probably showcase a little bit, as long as I'm able to. If they have, I'm pretty sure they have probably like Wi-Fi or something like that I'm able to do that there. I don't know. I'm not all that techie.
In some of the places.
But it's going to be an adventure.
So Just Relentless is on YouTube.
It's on YouTube.
That's where you watch it.
Yeah,
Watch it on YouTube.
that's where you can watch it. That's where you're going to find majority of our stuff now is on YouTube. I'm not saying that I'm not going to go back on TV, but for now, this
Was that kind of a teaser?
Well, no, this one is just like I'm not for sure if I'm going to stay off of TV. I'm still looking at other avenues and stuff, but for now, I'm really enjoying doing what I'm doing, and for the foreseeable future, I think I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing. But if the proper option comes available or offer comes available, then yeah, I'll probably look at the TV route again. But in the way that I want to edit, that would be the way that I go back on TV.
Thanks, Caleb.
Thank you very much, Kurt.
Really enjoyed that talk.
You betcha. Pleasure
Learned a
being
lot
here.
about Australia. Because when I think about Australia, I think about desert.
Yeah, same.
You know.
Yeah.
And then when you were showing, it was like, where's this in Australia?
Yeah.
Like, this isn't a part where they show you often.
No.
And then I thought anything that was there had burned.
Yeah.
Because we saw so much fire, but really appreciate it. That's Caleb Davidson of Just Relentless, and he's heading off to Africa here in about a month. We're going to be back with you on Thursday, and we're going to be here back at the Lloydminster exhibition, and we'll be talking to the Lloydminster Regional Health Foundation about their gala, which is coming up in April, and we'll also be talking about the Rare and Exotic Show, which is happening here at the Lloydminster exhibition on April the 6th. That's Thursday here from the Lloydminster exhibition and the new Lloydminster Nissan Exhibition Grill.